Hey everybody, this is the first part of the Bureaucratization of the World by Bruno Rizzi. I'm getting this translation from Adam Westaby, published in the book Bruno Rizzi, The Bureaucratization of the World, the first English edition of the underground Marxist classic that analyzed class exploitation in the USSR. I'm going to read, this is the preface. In this first part, we make a Marxist analysis of Soviet policy, with some allusions to the fascist and Nazi regimes which are in the course of rapidly bureaucratizing themselves and which have already acquired an anti-capitalist character, although capital has not yet been fully suppressed there as it has in the USSR. The latest political events will awake even the dullest. The black, brown, and red dictators are in the process of recognizing, perhaps even officially, that the social character of their countries is identical. The world is on the eve of a formidable historical turning point. We believe that Stalin will recall that Stalin was a revolutionary before becoming a dictator and will understand the terrible responsibilities which link him to the international proletariat. We judge only according to the facts and advise the workers to do the same. Europe and the world must become fascist or socialist. Capitalism has no further possibility of life. The USSR has become the pivot of world politics and will be the bastion of the proletarian revolution, or else a trap for the world proletariat. If it seeks revolution, it will carry the revolutionary center among the working masses of England, France, and America. If it fails to do this, it will assist the spread of fascism across Europe and the world. The bourgeoisie is a dead social force and politically has no further offensive capacity. The bourgeoisie resists but gives way day by day. Manchuria, China, Abyssinia, Austria, the Sudetenland, Bohemia, Spain, Albania, and others to come, already represent a novel political synthesis. In reality, the forces in play in present-day society, which is one, are not called France, England, Germany, Italy, USSR, Japan, etc., but are called capitalism, bureaucratic collectivism, and socialism. These are not empty words or social abstractions or political administrative fictions. They have their social bases. Capitalism rests on the class of those who own the means of production all over the world. They are joined together by business relations, by common interest, and by a political solidarity which showed itself immediately after the Great War in their collective strangulation of the revolution and was confirmed by the Munich events. This international has always operated. It is even now in the process of forming a capitalist bloc to oppose the encroachment of bureaucratic collectivism, but within this bloc they are attempting as far as possible to subjugate the forces of the proletariat in order to maintain the old privileges. Bureaucratic collectivism, too, has its social base in the dominant classes who have established their position in the state, in Russia, in Italy, in Germany, in Japan, and in smaller states, feeble from a capitalist point of view and lying beneath the sway of the great totalitarian states. This new social form is degenerated, but none the less active, and is progressively taking over from a capitalist which is dead, a capitalism which is dead as a driving system in a state of physical disintegration. This bloc has also formed its international, in the anti-Comintern, within which the USSR will soon appear, to engulf the old capitalist world by threats or by direct imperial expansion. Socialism has its social base among the working masses of the entire world. Socialism is the real living force of the new society which should replace capitalism. But it is still deceived by its ignorant or treacherous leaders who do not give it its own policies and place it patriotically behind the bourgeoisie or the fascists. Socialism sings the quote, international, end quote, but does not apply it in reality, as its two rivals do. In reality, it represents the butcher's meat of the struggle between them. It is the object of their exploitation, the good and docile ox which pulls the cart and at the same time goes to the slaughterhouse. The lesson of 1914 to 18 was not enough. At that time, the different imperialisms sought to resolve the capitalist crisis by a victory which would give hegemony to some among them, but 20 years later at Munich, they signaled their defeat by confirming the futility of the previous carnage, conducted beneath the standard of peace, of true civilization, of progress, of the war to end war, of the struggle against barbarism, etc., etc. There are three social forces in play, three political movements. There are three classes which represent them, and it is precisely the class which has the greatest social and historic rights which is subjugated, in part by a world that is dying, and in part by a monstrous new world that is in the process of being born, and so ill-born that it is resuscitating slavery after 2,000 years of history. It is not a question of, quote, peace, end quote, being, quote, indivisible, end quote, but of an indivisible struggle. It is not on the basis of nations that the workers must recognize their friends and their enemies. As Marx said, it is from classes, and in the struggle between classes, from the dialectic and struggle of classes, that socialism must draw its policies. Even in this period of decaying capitalism, workers consider that. Shortly, we shall publish the second part of the bureaucratization of the world, which will treat of the totalitarian state and of fascism in particular, (the analysis of decaying capitalism), Wars are always made for the ruling classes. The only war for the workers is revolution. The working class must struggle against capitalism and against fascism, must free itself from their stranglehold. They must have their own independent politics. In congratulating ourselves on having discovered this, we ask only to be refuted, corrected, or else helped by all comrades, by all workers, and by all men who want to live in honor and liberty, and wish to spare the world a new slavery. The author, Bruno Rizzi, Paris, 15th of July, 1939. Okay, so that's the end of the preface to the bureaucratization of the world.